So, if you've been watching a lot of YouTube photography videos during the pandemic lockdown, you've probably seen a lot of the major channels talking about how DSLRs are dead and mirrorless is the future. So, if like me, you've been thinking about a new camera, um, in my case, I'm thinking about replacing my backup camera. I'm hoping that the Pentax new APS-C camera is going to be something awesome with a hybrid viewfinder that I can get behind and use as my backup. But if you've also been looking at the wider market and you think mirrorless is the future, then this video is a lot of information about the cost of going mirrorless full frame and how to get into the full frame um, system, the cheapest way to get into a full frame system. That's essentially what this video is about, the cheapest way to get into the full frame system. So let's crack on. So are DSLRs dying is really a subjective question. Are major manufacturers abandoning DSLR? Not really certain in my view. Everybody's saying that Nikon and Canon are finished with the DSLR. I think they'll actually see how sales go of their new mirrorless mounts. And it seems obvious that Canon's announcement that they're going to concentrate on producing RF lenses rather than traditional DSLR lenses is just solid business. They're trying to build the RF mount. It doesn't mean that they'll never go back to it. I'm sure if the user demand's there, then they will go back to DSLR mount. But there are advances to mirrorless tech that are pretty undeniable. The autofocus is much better as far as accuracy is concerned, and it's just as fast these days on modern mirrorless cameras. Offers you silent shooting, and it offers you a chance to see your exposure. I think if any Pentaxians out there, obviously I've got a lot of Pentax content on this channel, want to test the difference between the autofocus accuracy between mirrorless and standard DSLR, try shooting in live view mode. If I want to nail perfect focus on an f1.4 lens on a portrait, for example, I have found, with the advice of Eddie Summers, that live view will do a better job of nailing that. And what's one of the things that attracts me to mirrorless as a possible option is that much more reliable autofocus. There's nothing more frustrating than in a series of very similar headshots that you've got the perfect expression, and that's the one where the focus hit the nose instead of the eye, especially when shooting wide open, which for me, admittedly, is not a major issue because I shoot in studio most of the time, so I'm not really shooting wide open that often. But it's still something that is frustrating when it happens. It happens more in my sort of personal work, which actually is more important to me, really. But there's still issues with mirrorless. There's poor ergonomics. If you follow any mirrorless photographers, even good ones, you will often spot a lot of dirt on their sensors. I think that's something to do with the mirrors not giving any protection. I think some brands have improved that. And obviously, there's a battery life issue with mirrorless cameras because they're powering screens constantly. But things are improving all the time, and I'm sure there are personal reasons why you would prefer one over the other. This video is not really about that. Now, the assumptions and logic, but what I've put together here as far as figures are concerned, just so you know, there's a lot of information, and I'm going to put a link in the description of this video of the PDF of all the slides that popped up on the screen here. So if you can't see them properly, I've never filmed using the screen before, going all Tony Northrup here. So I'm not sure if I've got the font sizes exactly right, etc., but I'll make sure it's all available to you. Now, for me, when I've been putting together this list, I don't believe that the bodies matter. The price is the priority when you're looking to get into a new system for the first time, because you'll start probably using it as your backup body, especially if you're shooting for money, so that you can learn the new system inside and out. I imagine that everybody would want at least to start off with something in the trinity of zooms range, the 15 to 30, 24 to 70, 70 to 200, or the equivalents available within different systems. I think if you want a particular prime as your starting lens in a new system, then you probably don't need this data because it's probably very easy for you to work out exactly what the best combination is. But if you know you're a general shooter and you're going to be building up a set of zooms, at least initially to get you going, then That's the assumption that I've used when putting together these pricings. I've also said that pros want f2.8 or faster, so I've done figures for both pros and hobbyists, and basically a pro lens to qualify is f2.8 or faster. Now I know that actually it's a lot more complicated than that, but I'm trying to keep things as simple as possible because there's a lot of data here. And I've focused on hobbyists want value for money. Again, a huge assumption and a huge generalization, but I think it helps to show the difference in the costs of getting in with pro glass and the costs of getting in with hobbyist glass. When I've looked at the price of used gear, I've taken the view that the warranty is worth paying for. So where it could be bought from a reputable dealer like MPB who'll give you a warranty, then I've used their price rather than the potentially slightly cheaper price on eBay, for example. So which systems? Full frame only. I could do an APS-C video if people think it'll be useful, but there's a lot of data here and you might never want to hear anything like this again. So we've used Sony FE, Canon RF, Nikon Z, and L mount. Now there are other systems, I'm aware, but these are the 4 leading mount systems as far as I'm concerned at the moment. I think they're the ones most likely to survive the inevitable and constant doom of the camera industry. And I know a lot of people don't think L mount will survive, but I think it would be foolhardy to just dismiss them. So body prices. The prices that are going to come up on the screen are UK prices. They include all taxes. That's something that's important for people not in the UK to bear in mind. When we buy something, we have the VAT, the VAT, value added tax, etc. The sales tax, as you would call it in the US, I think. It's all included in the price. So the prices here include the taxes. So body prices, we've got the A7 III from Sony. We've got the Canon RF, the Nikon Z6, and Lumix S1. It's actually called the Canon RP, isn't it? Yes, anyway. But clearly Canon have gone in there with the cheapest possible body, £1,299. Used price, you can already pick them up for $889, and they've not been out for very long. Then the rest are similar sort of prices. The Panasonic Lumix X1 is the most expensive of the bodies on there, but it is I'm not going to comment on the quality of the bodies, but it's the most expensive body, put it that way. Prices here are UK prices. Here they are in US dollars. I'll leave those on the screen for a few moments, and I'm going to put them up in a second in euros. Again, this is just a simple conversion of what it would cost you to convert the pounds to dollars. And again, the euros is exactly the same. This is the only time I'm going to show the prices in things other than dollars and pounds. Other than UK pounds. The reason for that is all I've done is simple conversions anyway. Local markets may be slightly different, but I suspect the trend will be exactly the same. So when we get to the full breakdowns, we'll be ranking things by cheapest, next cheapest, etc. So we'll be ranking things like that: cheapest, next cheapest, etc. And I think the pattern is what's important, not necessarily the actual price. Because what we're trying to work out here is not how much it'll cost you so much as what the cheapest entry road is, depending on what you want to do. But I will include the prices in pounds as I research them. Now, I'm sure there's a possibility that the prices may be slightly different when you start looking for them. In fact, I'm certain there will be. Used prices particularly fluctuate all the time. So, lens choices. For the pro lenses, with the Sony, I went with the 16-35 f2.8, the 24-70 f2.8, and the 70-200. If you're not familiar with Sony names, the GM stands for G Master, and that's their best range. With the Canon, we went with the 15-35 f2.8, the 24-7 f2.8, and the 70-200 f2.8. So pretty much the same lens focal lengths as the Sony are offering. With Nikon, there is no f2.8 ultra wide zoom. There's a 24-70 f2.8 and a 70-200 f2.8. And for L mount, the cheapest new lenses were the Sigma 14-24 f2.8, the Sigma 24-70 f2.8, and the Lumix S Pro 70-200 f2.8. Now, the thing to bear in mind here is the Sigma do not have currently a 70-200, but it will be coming, and that makes quite a big impact on the prices as we move on. So new, we're looking at the prices on the screen there. You can see that the Sigma prices are significantly lower. Now, I know some people are going to say that the Sigma lenses are not native lenses for the Panasonic, and they would prefer to see prices for on brand. But where L-mount's concerned, I'm taking the view that there's no reverse engineering going on here. The companies are sharing all of the data. So an L-mount lens produced from any of the manufacturers who are officially part of the L-mount Alliance is a native lens. They're not backward engineering anything. They know what they're dealing with. So they should be able to produce a lens to the highest possible standards that they as a company are capable of. And optically, I've never found anything wrong with Sigma lenses. So we've got two Sigma Arts in there, and we've got a Lumix S Pro. See, comparably, the L-mount lenses are cheaper across the board in every category, but the bodies weren't. So when we look at the used prices, L-mount lenses, you just can't get them. Tells you one or two things. They're not selling a lot to begin with, or the people who are buying them are very happy with the L-mount, not sticking with it. So they're not coming up on the used market, but it's still very new, so it's quite hard to say. Again, with the Z-mount, I couldn't find anywhere for sale a 70-200 Z-mount on a used market. There was 24 to 70s, but not a lot of them. Canon, on the other hand, had no difficulty at all finding used Canon glass. And it comes down by quite a reasonable chunk as well. And they were all from reputable dealers. Sony glass, loads of it out there. Doesn't fall in price quite as drastically as the Canon glass. I haven't done the percentages, but it doesn't feel like the drop's as big. I mean, the 16 to 35, it's not a lot of difference at all, really, 10%. But again, don't try and absorb all the information in one go. I will put the slides linked in the description. So yeah, we can see that the Pro Glass, the new price, the Element Alliance wins quite easily, but Sony wins if you want to take the total combined price on the used market, mainly because of availability. But it's worth bearing in mind that the Sigma new prices are lower than the Sony used ones. Now, I looked at third party, but what I found is the mounts are so new that basically only Sony have anything available. So there we go. There's the prices for third party with the Sony, which is pretty much the same as they charge you to for Sigma anyway, to buy them for the L mount. The Tamron 70-180 was the closest third party lens I could find for the 70-200 range, which is a lens that's getting extremely good reviews, brand new out. Now, Pro body and lens combos. Summary of the prices on the screen there, based on the new prices. So we can look, if you think you only going to need the wide zoom to begin with, the standard zoom or the tele zoom, then the prices are there for you, or if you want the full set. So for the wide zoom, the L mount is the way to go. As cost is your priority, and this video is about cost. Assuming you don't want to shoot third party, that is. Again, L mount still wins for the standard zoom. For the tele zoom, the 70-200, you're looking at the Sony as being the cheapest option for native glass, which surprised me a bit. But that Panasonic glass, the 70-200, is very expensive in comparison to others. But if you want to buy the full set, then the L mount is cheaper, but not drastically cheaper than the Sony. And if you were willing to go third party, there was quite a significant saving to be made by going with the Sony a7 III, those two Sigma lenses, and the Tamron 70-200. But if you want to stay native and you want to go used, Sony wins. Simple as that. But it's mainly down to glass availability. So I don't know if I would personally make my choices based upon that. I would probably start off with a single lens, a single body, and as the markets for these other mounts evolve, more used gear will appear, I'm sure. So pro lens and body combos, used prices, just to quickly summarize. If you want to go wide, Canon's cheapest. You want to go standard zoom, you're looking at Sony. And you want to go tele zoom, you're looking at Canon. But Nikon and L mount haven't really got a chance in this because their gear is just not really available used. Sony third party still wins in the two categories that you can get third party lenses. The Tamron 70 to 180 isn't available used yet. I couldn't find one at the point of recording this video anyway. So there we go. Now, if you wanted to, this was just a quick thought. If you then wanted to buy the new Sony and you want to look at the cost of the full set, so you wanted to get the 70, the Sony telezoom, you wanted to use it, you would still be cheaper buying the a used Sony plus the used Sigmas to get your full set of lenses on the used market, if you were willing to go third party, that is. But what about the hobbyists? If cost is your number one priority, stick with your DSLR until prices fall further. I'll say that before we go into this section. The mirrorless market is only really mature from my research for Sony as far as sales of lenses, etc. is concerned. Everybody else is still establishing themselves. So if cost is what matters to you more than anything else, then I'd say stick with your DSLR until prices fall further, and maybe even beyond, because you'll be able to pick up DSLR prices cheaper if what the pundits predict and DSLRs will die. The other option is to go with your current brand and a converter if one's available. Obviously Nikon and Canon have pushed this, and there's been loads of converters available for Sony for quite a long time. I don't know if there's any L-mount converters available yet. I haven't really seen any. So anyway, we're looking at lens choice here for hobbyists or enthusiasts. Looked at this. Obviously, there's a big difference between variable lenses and f4s. There was a degree of me looking at what was best value here and what was widely available. So on Sony, we went for the 16 to 35 f4, 28 to 70 variable, 3.5 to 5.6, and the 70 to 300 for the telezoom. Canon, couldn't find a hobbyist stroke enthusiast lens in the ultra wide area. There's a 24 to 105 for your sort of standard range and a 24 to 240 for your super zoom, as it were. But you'd probably only want one of them because they overlap quite a bit. Anyway, the Nikon, they actually had a bigger range. It seems like they've started off with some f4 lenses, which I'm sure are probably very good optically, probably a lot better than the variable aperture lens would be. And they have a 24 to 200 for the longer end. Whether you think that's worth having as a single lens to start with or not is obviously up to what you shoot, really. And L mount, there's no real hobbyist options, but I thought I'd include the prices of the f2.8 lenses because they are so competitive, and it might be worth comparing. As a hobbyist, you might actually think I could have much better quality glass by sticking with the third-party options or with Sigma. The L mount. Now, where the lens is available as a kit, I would think a hobbyist would choose to buy that way to get into the system. So if it's available as a kit, all I've done is include the price that it costs you extra to get the lens included versus body only. So, for example, the Sony FE28 to 70, the kit price was only an extra £150, and the best price I could find used was £150. So that seems like a fairly good bargain, to be honest. So hobbyist bond and lens combos. There's the cheapest price. For the full set, it's going to be Sony. Canon come in for the standard zoom and the telezoom. They overlap though, so I don't necessarily if you want to buy both of them. So it's worth looking at the price standalone. And Nikon for the wide zoom. But just to chuck it in there, there's the Sony third-party prices, which is the f2.8 lenses on Sony. As you can see, it is cheaper to buy the hobbyist lenses, but not by a great deal. So look at the used prices combinations. Again, Sony cheapest for the full set, in no small way, I'm sure, because of how long they've been in the market. Canon's cheapest in the standard zoom, the telezoom range again. It's basically a replay of the new prices, and Nikon for the ultra wide. Now, if we chuck in there the Sony third-party prices, basically buying used Sigmas, Sony wins in the ultra wide. We're using those lenses, but it doesn't in the standard zoom range. But if you want to get a full set from Sony, $3,899. So it's cheaper to buy the used real lenses rather than look at the new third-party lenses. Too much information. I feel like I've been talking forever. I've tried not to read all the figures out to you because I'm going to put the slides in the description. So, conclusions. The Sony system is definitely the most mature, and it offers the cheapest entry point with a complete pro setup, brand new. Cheapest entry point with a complete pro setup, brand new is the L mount. Sony wins by a good margin though if you're happy with third-party glass, and the cheapest entry point with a pro setup used is Sony, because it's the only system where you can actually get a full set on the used market. The cheapest entry with a complete setup new for hobbyists is Sony wins again. Cheapest entry point with a complete setup used, Sony is the only option. But don't buy a full kit in one go. If you're looking to transfer to an entirely new system, one body, the lens you'll use the most, use it as a backup. Even if it's a kit lens and you're actually a pro, use it as a backup. Make sure that when you're actually using it for paid work, that you understand the system inside and out. And even for a hobbyist, I would be reluctant to let go of your established kit unless you really need to financially, before you've played with a new system for quite some time. Because if you hate it, you're going to have lost money selling on your existing DSLR kit, and then you're going to lose money when you try to get it back. So you want to learn the system before you commit to it. Just look for the lens that works the best for you. So looking at kit deals, which I think pros should consider as well, to be honest, if you're looking at a new system. It's a cheap way in, and you want to learn whether you can live with this system. So the Sony A7 digital camera with the 28-70 f3.5 to 5.6 is £1,700 new, $1,699. The Canon EOS RP digital camera with the 24-240, which is like their super zoom lens, which would probably be an easy lens to sell afterwards, is just short of £2,000 new. The Nikon Z6 with the 24-70 f4, which I'm sure is probably a really decent lens, actually, probably better quality than the other ones. But I'm taking that off the spec. I haven't looked at the optics. Just £100 more than the Canon. And the Panasonic Lumix S1 with the 24-105 f4, which I have seen reviews of and is supposed to be a very good lens, is $2,399. So despite the L mount being the easiest system to get into throughout, if you're looking to buy as a kit, the Panasonic is actually quite the most expensive option. You might be better off looking for the Panasonic lens the Panasonic body, and looking for the Sigma lens. Now, somebody at home is probably thinking Sigma FP is cheaper than the Panasonic S1. It is, but it requires so many accessories to make what I would call a working camera that a stills photographer would want day to day, that I felt like I wasn't confident saying it was the best value for money without having to go into all of the accessories and things. So, third-party options, Sony all the way. And if you look on, this is a screenshot taken from one of the major UK retailers. If you click that you want Sony FE mount, which means full frame Sony, just look at all of the different names that are available. Samyang, Sony, Zeiss, Sigma, Lens Baby, Voigtlander, SLR Magic, never even heard of them. Tamron, Kipon, Takina. If you're going to be somebody who's going to buy third-party lenses, then I think at this point in time, Sony is the way to go. A lot of information there, possibly too much. Say I didn't cover APS-C as an option, and I do believe APS-C is a valid option for both pros and hobbyists still. If you have any questions, put them in the comments. If you want an APS-C video like this, because you're into masochism or something, then please, again, put those in the comments and I'll get back to you. Take care. I'll speak to you soon.